A point won or a point lost. The Predators are on the brink of playoffs, but have yet to cross that threshold into wildcard territory.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Locked On Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you for making us your first stop of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. I want to start off by shouting out all of our Locked On Predators podcast community and our everydayers who tune in to chat all things Preds every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. My name is Jack Williams, and I am the host of the Locked On Predators podcast and the Nashville Predators beat writer for the hockey news. Before we get into it as well, want to mention our Mailbag Mondays. Today is Mailbag Mondays, but as you see, it is just, point to it right there. It is just one segment today. Didn't get too much mail from y'all, so please keep sending in your questions. Absolutely. I'm going to read all of them off today. If you guys had your name listed and wanted a shout out, I will be absolutely giving y'all a shout out, but want to get this rolling a little bit more, want to do a full Mailbag Monday episode, keep your questions rolling. You want to find out how to send them in the link. There is a Google form. Just fill that out. Very simple, straightforward. Love to hear from y'all and love to answer these questions. So let's get that rolling. So we're going to talk about the bubble again because it's moved. I don't know if it's moved. If we're talking about a bubble, maybe it's like it's rattled a little bit, shaken a little bit because the Predators came up to it again and now are behind the bubble or the ball again, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of it is just what happened in the game and this whole conversation that we've been having of the point won versus the point lost, because lately it feels like the point lost, in my opinion. I'll explain that in a second, but we'll talk about the game where this all happened. This is on Saturday. It was a 3-2 loss to the Dallas Stars in overtime in Dallas. And it was a game where the Predators had a 2-0 lead, and it feels like this team constantly just puts themselves in a position to want to play difficult hockey. You have a 2-0 lead, just expand upon it, keep going, keep the offense pumping, and it seems like I can't name off the amount of games there have been this season where this team's just been playing a tight game over and over and over. It's been a 1-goal game or it's been tied or it's been decided in crunch time or it's been in overtime lately, because it doesn't seem like this team really wants to win comfortably at all. It just doesn't feel like that. It feels like every game needs to be tight. Every game needs to be close. And they're just really, really, really playing with fire here right now. They had a 2-0 lead in this game. I know there's the cliche of 2-0 is the most dangerous lead in hockey. And I guess they proved that point because they did what you're not supposed to do. They let their foot off the gas. Dallas is a good team. They've been in the top 3 in the Central all year, and they made them pay. Put this game into overtime. And Steven Stamkos elaborated on it. Andrew Brunette elaborated on it in postgame. Stamkos said, we relaxed too much. We got lackadaisical on it, and they took advantage of it. They're a good team. And Andrew Brunette said, we got too comfortable. Clearly, that was the problem here. It's just you build up a lead. Team that's not used to having 2-goal leads and just coasted. And then in overtime. Now, overtime has been an interesting topic with this team because it has not gone well lately. I think this has to be the 3rd straight game they've dropped in overtime. Games have gone to overtime, game that they have dropped in overtime. They've just not been good in the extra period at all. And the way this happened in overtime, the way the goal was decided, and I'll explain this because there was people on Twitter complaining about the way I explained it, and I'll explain the reason why I said it the way I did. But what had happened was the shot came from Johnston at the point. It missed the net. It hit the backboards. Now, this is just good positional hockey. And in overtime, when you're grinding it out like this is what you need to do. And it kind of hints at playoff hockey because the penalty that everyone wanted called here, this is not going to get called in the playoffs, especially in overtime. What happened was the puck came off the backboards. On the ice was Steven Stamkos, Eric Holla, and Brady Shea. Shea was indirectly tripped and this isn't the penalty. He was indirectly tripped by Heiskanen, and I don't know why it took him so long to get up, but he was down on the ice for a good 4 or 5 seconds to get up. He was indirectly tripped by Heiskanen because Heiskanen was tied up with Stamkos, battling and tied up. And Heiskanen got Shea's leg a little bit. That's not going to get called. And Heiskanen was able to break free of the tie-up. And when he was breaking free, Stamkos dropped his stick. So that's 2 guys out of the play already. And that allowed Heiskanen to get to the puck, slide it over to Robertson on the left side. Robertson had a gaping wide open net, and he tapped it in for the goal. Now, how he got to that position to where the net was wide open was he got into a tie-up with Eric Haula, and this is where everybody said there should have been a penalty, and I know people are going to argue with me and say yes, and that's fine, but Robertson was holding his stick a little bit up here in the tie-up and was able to use that leverage to push forward and get out of the tie-up that he was in with Haula, get his positioning and score, pushing Haula back behind the goal line and not giving him enough time to get up there. That, and I think the word that was used was called cheaters. That's not going to get called. I will tell you all that was not blatant enough. That wasn't direct enough to get called. It is what it is sometimes in overtime and stuff like that. And Stamkos didn't complain about it in the post game. And you'd hear guys complaining about this if this happened. And he was on the ice when this goal was scored. I think Haula kind of shrugged at it for a call, but they weren't up in arms about this happening. Stuff like that, kind of passive like that's not going to get called in the playoffs. And that's why I said it's a tie-up that he got out of and scored up. I'm not gonna divulge into it anymore, but just that's not gonna get called in overtime and something that's gonna decide the game. It's just the way the sport is, unfortunately. So there's some things that are missed, some things that are not gonna get called, and that's one of them. But in the moment of points, as the Predators were going to overtime, if they had gotten the 2 points, they would have finally been in wildcard position, which they have not been in this entire season. They have come up to it so many times. They have not actually been in wildcard position. And that illusion would have held for about an hour because Seattle eventually beat Vancouver 5-1 to overtake that final wildcard spot. However, this is where it's important and big to discuss this. If the Predators had still won that game and Seattle won their game, Seattle would still be ahead, but only by a game. And they would be tied in points if the Predators would beat the Red Wings on Monday when you guys are watching. And the Predators would have had the tiebreaker here because they have more wins than the Kraken do. So they would be tied in points, but the Predators would move up. Because they lost in overtime and only gained 1 point from that game, they are now a game back from Seattle. So in order for them to catch up to Seattle, doesn't matter how many wins they have, point total now, they need to win their next 2 games, and they need Seattle just to lose their next 2 games in order for them not to move. Now, as of tonight, as I was putting this together and double checking everything, the Sharks beat the Jets in overtime, and now they have the same amount of points as the Predators do. However, they move ahead because they have 29 wins. The Predators have 27. Now you're in a position where you need to win games because you're not in the tiebreaker with San Jose. You're not ahead now. You need to get ahead in points now because now Seattle's jumping you. And this is what happens when there was somebody on Twitter saying, oh, well, what do you mean they're bubbles about the burst? This is what happens. You're at the wild card line. Now a gap starting to form. And I know there's a bunch of games left still. And this person on Twitter pointed out, okay, they have 5 games left against opponents that are ahead of them. And that while that is true, it doesn't really come down to that anymore of who you're facing. It's who you just need to win in general. And those 1-to-1 matchups really, they don't matter anymore because you need to be beating everybody and you need to get points no matter what. And what I point out with that is that gap's forming now, and you cannot let that build anymore because what happens then is not only are you, I'm trying to think of a PGG rated word for this, but not only are you disservicing yourself and putting yourself into a hole, you're putting everybody behind you in a hole because now with this gap forming, if Seattle continues to win, you can't catch up and everybody behind you can't catch up either. And suddenly the playoffs are set in March because those teams can't catch up now. This is why it's important to win those games. You can't leaving points on the table because now you could have gone in Detroit. You could have won that game and then be able to pass Seattle because you have the tiebreaker into that wild card spot. Now, if you beat Detroit, you're still going to be behind not just the ball with Seattle, you're going to be behind the ball with no, wait, they would pass them in points. So you won't be behind the ball with Seattle. No, you wouldn't be behind the ball with San Jose. You'd still be behind the ball with Seattle compared to if you beat the Stars, you'd be in front of them. That's what that is, straightforward. And now that, like I said, that gap's being able to form, that's a problem. And then you have the deadline here on the horizon where it looks like they are trying to push for playoffs and trying to get in that position and pick up as many points as they can. And Roman Josi said, winning helps everything. Winning fixes everything. When talking about the deadline, if I was Barry Trotz and seeing how close you are and just not coming up to it, I take a red marker out and I circle everything that's being a problem right now and trade that. AKA, like, 4 defensemen. More defensemen you can't get rid of. I heard the conversation about Brady Shea earlier. I don't know where I saw it. That contract's not going on anywhere, unfortunately, but you need some sort of support from your defense, especially when you have a 2-0 lead and you're letting the Stars just run over you, or you're letting anybody run over you, really. So you need to fix your defense in order to get moving forward because the offense is clearly doing its job. It's clearly producing, whether it's from Steven Stamkos or Luke Evangelista or Ryan O'Reilly or Philip Forsberg or Michael Bunting. You could go down the field and say that how good the offense is playing because they fueled this whole turnaround. It's the defense that just needs to be retooled completely. And if you're Barry Trotz on the deadline wanting to get this team into the playoffs, leave on a high note there, that's what you need to do. But like I said, and I know I just threw a lot of stuff out there when talking about the bubble there. This is the situation right now. Nashville, if they won that game against the Stars, and I'll say it again just to be straightforward, if they won that game against the Stars, they would be in wild card. They would still not be in wild card position, but if they beat Detroit, they would have been in there now. Now, since they lost that game in overtime and only got a point out of that matchup, if they beat Detroit, they're still going to be behind Seattle. So that's what that positioning looks like. And they need, instead of not needing to win 1, they now need to win 2. There is benefits, I guess, to the Predators and the people ahead of them and them losing to help them out. Seattle's at home against Carolina, who is the best team in the East right now. And as we've watched Carolina this year, they're a very good team, a team that the Predators cannot compete with at all. And then Los Angeles, who is, I think they are, it's Seattle and Utah. They are like right in this race with, they're tied in points. Excuse me. They are tied in points with the Predators. They're facing Colorado at home, and Colorado is the best team in the league right now. So say what you will. If you want to chalk it up, that's 2 losses for teams that are in the race with you. So that lines it up earlier that you need to beat Detroit. And then to add more onto this, the Detroit game is a 1 p.m. game. So if you beat them, you beat the Red Wings, you have the field set, and you have a vision, your perspective on what the field looks like before the night games start. So you can kind of sit there and watch and see how things unfold and see if you're settled in there. That's all if they win the game. That is truly just if they win the game. If they don't win the game, that gap I made gets bigger. And it's going to get bigger if they just lose. If they leave points on the table and the teams in front of them win, that gap, I don't know if it will shrink or not. But what I can tell you the most, if this trend continues, it's just going to stay like this, and we'll stay like this and stay like this. And then finally we get to April, and this is how the season ends. That's what that is. I've talked too long for this segment. So we're going to go into an ad break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the week. And that there's a lot of desperation in this week. There's a lot of teams that are going to be hungry. If this is a buffet, everybody is coming in with empty stomachs. Everybody that they are facing this week, including the Predators, are hungry for playoffs. We will talk about that coming up right after the break. Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you automatically are entered for a shot to win a trip to the NBA Finals for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which teams can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. I love futures this time of year. Whether it's picking a team to win a championship or grab a conference title, it adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash, but it can also send you to the finals. Visit fanduel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So we're going into what is going to be a long week. That is 4 games this week, 2 on the road, 2 at home. And every opponent has something to risk here and is playing for something. It's not just basement dwellers, or it's not teams that are sitting on the throne of the league. These are teams that are right in the hunt, all of them in the Eastern Conference. So let's look at it. Detroit, you have on Monday at 1 p.m. Columbus, you have on Tuesday in Columbus at 6 p.m. The Detroit game is in Nashville. I don't know why I wrote at. Thursday, you're hosting Boston at 7 p.m. And then Saturday, you're off to Buffalo at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5:30 p.m. Buffalo time. So Buffalo is second in the Atlantic, which is a crazy thing to say. That I don't remember when they were last up that high ever in the Atlantic standings. But the Atlantic's extremely competitive this year. So if they lose like 3 in a row, they could be back down to the wild card spot, which is where Boston and Detroit are right now. Detroit's in wild card 1 right now. They were an Atlantic leader not too long ago. So they're battling for playoff position 2. Then you have Boston, who is wild card 1, wild card 2 right now, who is really trying to stay in the race too. And the other team, Columbus, they're a little outside of it, but they were in a position that the Predators were in earlier this year, where they're trying to show that they can get into the race and that they want to be in the race and they can be a wild card team. The Predators have done it. Columbus is trying to do it, and they're not a half bad team at all. So, I mean, they could easily jump into this real quickly, and a win over the Predators too could really get them going too. But the important part of this week with Nashville and all of it is it's going to show how bad they want it. And it's going to force them to finally play consistent hockey. And if they don't, they're going to burn. That's what this is. Because you have 4 teams that are starving like I am right now because I have not eaten dinner and it's 9:40. But that's what it is. You need to show how much you want it. You need to show how hungry you are, because these teams are going to play desperate. You need to play desperate, and this defense needs to lock in completely. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's just these teams are going to push hard, and you need to push just as hard back. These are going to be gritty, tough games, and it's no more anything being left on the table. I know it's March 1st, and there's a month and a half of play left. But in the playoff race this tight, if you're going to give anything to anybody, they're going to take it immediately. And you're just going to be sitting there being like, oh, what just happened? And out of all these games, I will say Buffalo's probably the hardest, because you're playing like a late afternoon game coming off of a game on Thursday against a team that you went to overtime with originally. And this is the best team out of the ones that you're facing throughout the week. And as for, facing Boston, Columbus, and Detroit before, you've beaten Detroit sizably. You've beaten Columbus very close, but that was the first game of the year. And then Boston, you have an overtime loss to. You lost 15 seconds into overtime. And then Buffalo, you have a 2-goal loss to as well. So you have an interesting mix of results here for sure. And only 2 of these games are at home, by the way. Detroit and Boston. So, I mean, it's just, like I said, I can't say it enough. It's just going to be a massive battle of who wants it more, who's going to grind for it more. These are going to be playoff like atmospheres because this is what these teams are wanting right now. These are what these teams are playing for right now. And all of them, yeah, all of them being in the Atlantic division, that division's a beast, y'all. The playoff race in the Atlantic division is so tight right now that these teams know what it takes to grind and to win and what they need to do to really just bear it out and figure out how to find up on top. I'm pulling up the Atlantic division right now just to show you how close it is and within the wild card too. So, looking at it, 80 is the Lightning on top. Not far behind them is Buffalo. That's a 4-point gap with them, 76 points. Montreal is 1 point behind Buffalo in third place with 75 points. Detroit is 1 point behind Montreal in the first wild card with 74 points. And then Boston's a little bit outside of that gap with 3 points, being 3 points behind Detroit in wild card 2. So it's extremely, extremely, extremely tight amongst all those right now. And anything the Predators are going to give them, they're going to take, just showing how tight that race is. Because there is a lot more separation in the Central. The Pacific's a little bit tighter, but they're facing teams that are all in the thick of it and are trying to get points wherever they can, where you have the Predators who are just trying to string things along and coming up to it, and you just can't give anything over for free at all. Anything has to be earned. Then you have the Capitals, who are on the heels of the Bruins right now for that final wild card spot. They have 69 points. Then you have Columbus right behind them with 66 points, who's trying to get back into this race. Like I said, it's going to be 4 grinded out games, and it's really going to show what this Predator squad is made of. Before we get into the last segment, which is going to be a little bit more fun with the mailbag and not me screaming about this team and how they're frustrating, want to talk to you guys about the Everydayer Club. So thank you for making Locked on Predators your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked on the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now go and take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked on Predators with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more. Offers just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonpredators.supercast.com. or check the links in the show notes to learn more. I'm running out of breath here, y'all. And hey, if you want to check it out and, want to get a feel for what it's all about for a limited time only, use code DEADLINE, DEADLINE, and you can get a month free of Everydayer Club access to Locked on Predators. So if you want to check that out, that is code DEADLINE. When we come back, we're opening up the mailbag and we're going to answer all y'all's questions. Like I said, this is a direct line to get to me. So if you guys want to get involved, please send your questions under that Google form link. But when we come back, excuse-moi, we're going to be answering y'all's questions in the mailbag. There is nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been simple. That's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast, without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. I pulled up the Gametime app and picked an upcoming NBA game and had tickets locked in within minutes. Love seeing the all-in price up front, no surprise fees at checkouts. Being able to see the view from the seat before buying made it an easy decision. Zone deal stood out. Choose the section. Gametime picks the seats, and you save. Great last minute options too, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. So we're at the mailbag, which should be a little bit more positive and not me getting upset about everything, but we will see. I'll try to make it fun. So let's get into the first question. This is from Landon from Knoxville. Being that you aren't from here, what were your initial thoughts about Southern hockey and the Nashville fan base in general coming into this organization? Love your work. I appreciate that. This is a very thankless job. in journalism and in media. So Landon, I appreciate that. Hockey in the South. I mean, I originally, like I've said before, I came from a very untraditional market in Vegas, but the difference was with the Golden Knights, that was the only like real established sports fan base out there. You had UNLV like back in the 90s, but those were older fans, and it was more so about the university. For a long time, that was the only professional sports team in Las Vegas, or I should say sports team in Las Vegas. They're not professional sports team. Aces, the WNBA team, had a good following out there, but it's kind of like a more of a niche group, but the city loves them, and they're a really fun team to watch too. But it was more of a niche group. The Raiders is hard to pull through because it just wasn't the city's team at first, and then you have the A's coming in. It's a similar situation as the Raiders, but they were all in on the Golden Knights, and hockey became extremely popular out there just because of the team identity around that, the local identity about that. So I came from that untraditional market to here. And I think what I was surprised about was just how knowledgeable and how established hockey is here in general. I remember going into Centennial for the first time and being like, this is like a park, like a legit park district rink. And it felt like the rinks I played in growing up in Illinois. And I'm like, this is cool and nice to be back into, because out in Vegas, everything was so new. And it was nice to see everything's really established. And I just think I was caught off, and I've lived in the South before. I've lived in the Florida Panhandle up in Tallahassee, and I was expecting it to be a lot of the same, where it was football, a little bit of basketball, and baseball all throughout the spring. And it is like that. Football is king down here. It's huge. And the college presence is awesome. The college sports around here are the best. And then baseball is big in the spring too. Basketball's a little bit bigger too, with what UT does and what Vanderbilt's been doing lately. But hockey does have a big presence down here, and it's really cool to see. It's awesome to see between the passion of the Predators fan base. I'm going to cover the high school state championships for Tennessee tonight for y'all after the Preds game. That's where I'm going, the Centennial. So if you guys want to hang out there, I believe Centennial and in the Centennial Independence Co-op is playing the Mount Juliet Co-op in one championship game. And then the other one is Montgomery Bell and I don't remember the last one. It's Montgomery Bell and someone. It's going to, you know what's going to happen. It's going to come to me in the middle of me talking about all of this. So, but hockey in the South, it's awesome. I think it's really cool. And the Predators fan base, I like the fact that I'm not going to be mean towards the Vegas fans, but the Predators fans are a lot more knowledgeable, and it seems like I can actually have a conversation a little bit more. And it seems like you guys are a little bit more involved, and, you know, it seems like there's just a little bit more of a conversation pattern there. The passion is awesome. And the fan experience is just, it's a lot more self-created, I should say, with the fans too. That's been awesome. And just getting the "you suck" chant and the "all your fault" chants and the singing and Predsican and all of it is just, it's also just fan auto generated. Like, y'all don't need the music, and, you know, Crazy Kyle's awesome with all that, and the hosting is great, but like, it's also fan auto generated, and you don't really see that except for in college sports, which makes sense because this area in Tennessee in the South is so college sports oriented. But like, you don't really see that a lot in hockey, where the audience is driving so much of it, because a lot of the audience gets help from like PA announcers and hosts and stuff like that. But that's been really cool to see. But that's my elongated answer about hockey in the South. I think it's really great. I love seeing hockey grow in non-traditional markets and put their own local twist on everything. That's what makes it the best, and it's fun. And I'm looking more. I shouldn't say looking more, but I'm just even more excited to get more involved and see more about this community. Like I said, I'm seeing the high school state championships on Monday, not Centennial, excuse me. It's Monday at Bellevue. If you guys want to join me and hang out that night, but they should be fun. But like that, MTSU and the Vanderbilt have good college teams at the ACHA level, and, you know, MTSU is getting a division, like an actual NCAA Division I team soon. So I mean, it's great. It's great. It's fun to follow along. And then Landon, as you said too, there's the Ice Bears out in Knoxville, which seem awesome as well. So I mean, I really like it. I really do. It's great to see it grow, the sport grow. I always am a fan wanting to help the sport grow. So I mean, it's great. It's so cool to see it grow down here. But on to the next question. This is from Joe Dion or Joe Donnie. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I apologize. Or Jedi Nash, the tattoo I have. That's kind of sick. Sick in a cool way. Do you think we'll do a full rebuild but keep Roman Yossi after Trotz is gone? Or what do you expect us to do after the season once Trotz is out? That's a loaded question. Oh my God, we're already at a half hour. Oh no. Oh no, it's just, I've said this a lot. It's just I don't think a full rebuild makes any sense because you have good veteran pieces here, and you can trade some of them for other good parts. But I mean, like I think today I quoted a tweet from NHL Rumor Report of Elliot Friedman being like, oh, I heard that Ryan O'Reilly doesn't want to leave. And this is something we've been saying since October. That's not going to happen. He's not going. And it just, in my opinion, just doesn't make sense to do a full rebuild. Especially with this, I don't think you're going to be shelling off Philip Forsberg or UC Saros or Roman Yossi or Stephen Stamkos or anything like that. Friedman did indicate that Stamkos could be a conversation this summer, but I think that's a little bit more makes sense. I don't think he's leaving at the deadline. I never thought he was leaving at the deadline. But no, I don't think this group is doing a full rebuild after Trotz is gone. It just doesn't make sense. I do think with a new GM, and that's important depending on who it's going to be, because if it's going to be, an interior hire from the inside, I don't think much new is going to happen. But if you're getting a guy from the outside, I think you're going to see a lot of retooling and seeing a lot of guys that Trotz is sticking his neck out for leave. So like Michael McCarron, I don't think would stay. Justin Barron would definitely be gone, or like these bigger guys that are just big and not fast. I think you would see a lot of them go. And I think you'd see a lot more of the not traditional, but the NHL players that define what the NHL is now of speed and skill. I think you'd see that come in a little bit more, but I don't really think a hard, complete, full rebuild is going to happen anytime soon. I think, or I don't know. I think the next step would be if they're bad again to start next year, then Andrew Brunette gets fired under a new GM. That's the next step in all of this. And then if it continues to spiral, then you go into a full rebuild. But that's the next step, in my opinion. If things continue to be bad, well, they're not bad right now, but if things start bad again at the beginning of next year, Brunette would be the first one to go before they get into a rebuild. There's steps to this, and as Emma Lingen said, that I quote constantly, all rebuilds are not created equal. But Joe, thank you for the question. Appreciate it. And sick tattoo, by the way. Do the Predators have an ECHL affiliate and we assign players there for development? Yes, they do. It's the Atlanta Gladiators. And just the way that works is that's a step below. And I know you all know this, but I just need to verbalize it. It's a step below the AHL. So guys that aren't doing well in Milwaukee will go to Atlanta. So don't expect like Justin Barron to go to Atlanta, or don't expect who's not playing well right now, Jonathan Marchessault, to go to Atlanta, or like Matthew Wood. They need to be struggling in Milwaukee in order to go down to Atlanta. So that's how that works. It might be fun to go out to see a game there. It's closer than Milwaukee. It's a lot closer than Milwaukee. But have y'all been to Gladiator games? Are they fun? I've seen everyone at the Admiral games, and I'd love to go to one too. Like I said, I'm from around Chicago, so I'm not far from Milwaukee, so I'd love to go up. But are Gladiator games fun? If y'all have been to Gladiator games, let me know. I'd love to check that out. Final question here. This is from Thomas. Following Saturday's overtime loss to Dallas, what does the trade situation look like, and how can the Predators fix their OT play in order to start winning OT games instead of losing them like they have the last 4? You're speaking my language, man. Oh my God. I've asked this question, I think, twice to Andrew Brunette, and I don't remember what he said the second time, but the one time he answered it, he just said, it's a coin toss with the overtime play. It can't be that every time, like, truly, it cannot be that constantly. If you're having a trend where you're losing 4 games in a row or X games in a row in overtime, they've just not been great in overtime this year. There is a key factor in that you need to fix. And it can't just be, it's a coin flip. No, it's not. And each game you can point something out. Boston, they were asleep at the wheel. New Jersey. I'm sorry. Philip Forsberg just gave up on the play. Dallas, I guess you just got to be stronger in front of the net. I don't know. But fixing the overtime play, I think and this may go into trading, you need faster guys on the ice that can push the puck more. Like, the reason that they've struggled so much in overtime is because they oh my God, I almost used a bad word. They are not good at puck possession overtime. They are dreadful at puck possession in overtime. If it goes off their stick, they are chasing it for a while. And yes, they do make a lot of they do take advantage a lot of when they have the puck, but that's been the continuous problem, in my opinion, is that they just struggle with that possession immediately. And you need guys that are going to be quick and hard on the pucks in order to get that possession back and then start the scoring. That's my solution to that. As for the trade deadline, as of now, I mentioned it earlier, it's just the defense. It needs to be fixed. Oh my God, the defense needs to be fixed so bad. And I'm not talking about Roman Josi. He's playing fantastic. Or Nick Blankenberg. And I've said this so many times. But it just, all of it's so bad. It's just, you can see the tired in my eyes talking about this. It's just so bad and nothing's been done to fix it. And, we're going to fix the defense in the offseason by Barry Trotz. And then you bring Nick Perbix in and you bring Nick Hagan and it still doesn't look good. So, that needs to be fixed completely, the trade deadline. If you're going to do something at a minimum, it needs to be that, or be a little bit more happy in moving guys up from Milwaukee and stuff. And also, I even mentioned it, Adam Wilsby got hurt in the Dallas game, and they were playing with 5 for a while. And then you have Ryan Ufko sitting there in Milwaukee. Like, bring him up. You need a defenseman who'll be the pecking order. I swear to God, if I see Andreas England one more time, or who else have they brought up? It's been him. If I see Andreas England one more time, I'm going to freak out, y'all. Just, that's another Trotz guy that just needs to go. You need to be more bold with the people you're bringing up and bringing in. You cannot just stick to the same formula because it's not working. I'm getting upset, so I'm going to end the episode here. My God, it's going to be another fun week. Preds hockey is back in Nashville. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of the Locked on Predators podcast. I am at Jack G. Williams on Twitter /X. Hockey News Nashville Predators, where you can find all my Preds work. And hey, if you guys are just interested in Locked on Predators, LO_Predators on Twitter /X. Facebook and Instagram, we're just Locked on Predators. And hey, Everyday Club, ad-free audio. You don't have to listen to me stumble over ad reads. Members only Discord access and more. Take your listening experience up another level. Code DEADLINE to get 1 month free. $5 a month, $50 a year. That's all I got for you guys. I don't know why I said it like that. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Grateful, thankful. Love these conversations I have with y'all. Keep sending in these mailbag messages. I love them. I don't read them ahead of time. So this reaction you get from me live is me reading them for the first time. So load them up. Send them in, guys. Love them. Love them. It's great. Thankful for you guys. Grateful for you guys. Hey, if you guys want to chat, if you guys are at the midday game against Detroit, you want to chat, hey, Section 311. Send me a DM. Let me know you're coming. Would love to chat, but that's all I got for y'all. I'll stop talking here. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Locked on Predators podcast, and I will see you all, oh my God, tomorrow.